What is going on to all my movie fans out there, and welcome back to my channel, MovieFiles. Elliot back again with a brand new movie review, and this is going to be a fun one because this is a sequel to a film in which I'm a fan of, the first Top Gun, but today we are breaking down Top Gun Maverick, a film in which I saw the other night in theaters in IMAX, I might add, and in this breakdown I'm going to share my thoughts on the film, my theater experience, and let you all know if I think it's worth checking out. We're going to be discussing that and so much more in today's spoiler-free review. Before we get into all the details, make sure you're checking me out on all my other social media accounts. If you all are new to the channel and love early movie reviews, TV breakdowns, and live streams, well, come and join the community today by subscribing and hitting that notification bell. And if you all enjoyed this spoiler-free review of Top Gun Maverick, well, make sure you're liking and sharing this review, but more importantly, sharing your thoughts in the comments. For number one, have you seen the original? Are you a fan of the original? What was your excitement level for the sequel? And of course, once you've seen the film, let's have our discussions about your pros, your cons, thoughts on the direction, the performances, the narrative, the emotional beats, the flight sequences. Were you disappointed by the film? And of course, which one do you think was better? Top Gun Maverick? Let's have those discussions in the comments below. So let's just get right into my positives, starting off with the director here, Joseph Kosinski. Now, I'm a fan of his work. I think of Oblivion, which I thought was beautiful to look at, especially, he collaborated with Tom Cruise in that film. But I want to touch on another sequel to a franchise that was born in the 80s. I'm talking about Tron and him directing Tron Legacy. And what I liked what he did with that film, but how it pertains to this franchise, he manages expectations by giving you homages and paying respect to what came before. But what he does so beautifully in this film is he is managing to infuse new elements to the story and within this franchise. And pinpointing his phenomenal job in doing so, he's able to connect the emotional moments and the characters from the original and adds more depth to them and adds more stakes to this mission at hand. Now, I think that Joseph did such a phenomenal job, and attention to detail is absolutely ridiculous. In the way that he worked with his cinematographer, in which he worked with in the past, they are truly able to capture what it's like to be in these circumstances, and the intensity and the flight sequences, some of the best I've ever seen in my entire life. Now, translating that into other production aspects of this film, I love the score from the original, and I thought they did such a great job of implementing the score in this one. Now, I'm not a product of the 80s, but I appreciate the 80s, and what I loved about the score, I felt like it was just so great, and the soundtrack complemented the film. It was such a huge part of the storytelling, and it really brings the immersive feeling to this film. Now, also, I do want to mention that I appreciate the comedy beats that were sprinkled throughout the narrative. I had a really fun time with some of the, not only the emotional beats that we'll talk about here, but it's a pretty fun and entertaining film as well. But getting now into what makes the original so great to watch, in my opinion, was seeing these elite pilots working together, and their chemistry was great, and they managed to make me care about the new bunch of Top Gun pilots in this film. Now, giving you all just a brief rundown, characters that stood out to me, such as Bob and Phoenix, Payback and Fanboy, Coyote, all of them, in my opinion, had a time to shine. And again, I cared for them, and I thought that those supporting characters brought so much to this narrative. But I do have to highlight some other characters in this film. I thought the authoritative characters and the admirals throughout the film demanded your attention. I'm referring to Jon Hamm, who I'm a big fan of, Don Draper, as well as Ed Harris. I thought they brought a gravitas to their role. But now we got to take a moment to talk about the MVPs, the standouts to me in this film. Starting off with, I want to start things off talking about Iceman, who is played by the incredible Val Kilmer. Now, I don't want to give too much away, but I will just say, wow, the way that they included his character and the relationship that you've seen has grown between Top Gun and this sequel, Top Gun Maverick, between Iceman and Maverick. Perfection. It was just literally perfection, and Val Kilmer did such a great job. I love his inclusion in this film. But let's transition over to another standout character to me, and I'm going to talk about Glen Powell as Hangman. Now, the first time I saw him was in Scream Queens on television, and I thought to myself, oh, this dude is going to be a star. This is that movie. This is the movie that will put Glen Powell on the map. He is so great in this film. Again, he goes by the character by the name of Hangman, and he's essentially the Iceman of this narrative, but times 10 when it comes to being an a-hole. But I really enjoyed the narrative he had and the arc that he had in this film, and I'm telling you all, Glen Powell, He's someone to watch for. He was really great in this film. But let's talk about the really two standouts to me. Moving on to Miles Teller, who goes by the name of Rooster, who, this isn't a secret, it's in the marketing. He is the son of Goose. And I just want to say, wow, Miles Teller, you did a great job, man. Just getting more in particular, without giving too much away, he was nothing short of incredible in this film. And the thing that really stood out to me was just thinking back to the original, the relationship between Goose and Maverick and the chemistry and the bond that they had, and how that translates to this narrative. And again, not going into the minutia, but as you would imagine, for fans of the original, there's some resentment there. There is some hate towards Maverick in regards to what happened to his father, and what Bradley, or should I say Rooster, how him and Maverick are able to navigate that relationship in this narrative was just amazing. I love their chemistry. I thought it was spectacular. But speaking of spectacular, I'm a fan of this actor. I think he is the only true one last Hollywood star that is now making films. I'm talking about the one, the only Tom Cruise as Captain Pete Mitchell, aka Maverick. This is, to me, is what you go to the movies for. It's not only for the great story in this film, the spectacle, the amazing flight sequences. It's Tom Cruise, man. He's giving you one of, in my opinion, I've seen a lot of Tom Cruise films. This is easily one of his best performances to date. And I don't say that word lightly, because I'm a fan of his work and I thought he was phenomenal. He's giving you everything in this role. The continuation of his story from the original into this film, and seeing him kind of being phased out but being put back and thrust into the main narrative, and putting this new band together on this new mission, and the baggage that comes with the character, and the art and the action, the engagement, the emotional beats. Again, I don't want to leave out, I think this is one of Tom Cruise's best performances to date. I thought he was great in the first one. I had fun with the character, but it's the emotional depth, it's the range that Tom Cruise gives you in this role that I thought was just absolutely fantastic. So Tom Cruise did his damn thing in this film. So a couple more final points I want to mention. Transition over to the story, which I thought was great. It was really no points in which I was bored or thought there was unnecessary plot points. I thought the emotional moments worked so well because they were earned throughout the narrative of this film. Going on to some of my last points, I want to talk about the third act in this film. Oh my goodness, I haven't felt this type of feeling in the third act since probably the film 1917, which had me on the edge of my seat. Whew, this third act is something else, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you all now, when it comes to this mission, which some might say is impossible. You see what I did there, Tom Cruise? But anyway, this mission is absolutely off the charts. But getting into the last 20 minutes, it is edge of your seat, heart pounding, palm sweating type of action that I just thought was absolutely amazing. The third act is like something very special. It's my favorite half of the film, which the first two halves of this film is spectacular. The third act just takes it to the next level. So transitioning, pivoting over to some things that stood out to me as far as some criticisms that I do have of the film. Now, I will say, for me personally, I felt like the first 20, 30 minutes really was relishing the past, really kind of playing to that nostalgia aspect, which I didn't hate. I actually enjoyed that element of the film. But my initial reaction was, oh, are we going to lean like heavily on the nostalgia? That isn't the case, because after that first half, it kind of gets more into its own narrative. But it did take about 20 minutes to really kind of like, okay, we're really leaning on the 80s. We're really leaning on the first one. But like I said, it doesn't last that long. But it's something that stood out to me, which kind of honestly kind of goes hand in hand with my next negative here. There are some moments in which you can definitely see the similarities in repeating some elements of the first one, like the characteristics, like I mentioned, Hangman's kind of like Iceman, and there's a certain, the relationship between Rooster, obviously Goose's son, and Maverick. So there are some similarities in the characters. There's some similarities in the plot. And again, they're not damaging to my experience, but there was just enough similarities where I'm like, that's kind of repetitive in a sense to the first one. But honestly, the one more thing that I do want to bring up in regards to a negative was, of course, we were going to get the beach scene and them, bonding and whatnot. We got that in the first one. But I will say in this film, there is a sense of urgency. There's a reason why they have to kind of bond a little bit quicker than the original. And when you see the film, you'll know why. But I do feel like it was just a little bit too quick for my taste in regards to getting all of the elite Top Gun team to work together. I thought it was just a little bit too quick for my taste. But honestly, that's all the criticism I really have for this film. So before I give you my score, my theater experience, and let you know which one I think is better, I'm going to let you all know that here in a second, but before we get into all those discussions, make sure if you haven't already to like the review, share the review, leave your thoughts in the comments, and of course, subscribe to the channel. Overall, Top Gun Maverick is easily one of the best summer blockbuster films you're going to see out there to date. It's fun, it's entertaining, it's interesting, it's engaging, it's heartfelt, it actually has stakes, it has emotions. It's just a great time to be in a theater, and you're going to have the need to see this, the need to speed. I'm going to give Top Gun Maverick a 4.5 out of 5. Now, a couple things I want to wrap this review up with in this video is two things. Number one, Elliot, do I have to see the first one to really enjoy and understand this new sequel? First off, I don't think you have to see the first one, but if you have seen the first one, you will, you'll appreciate the Easter eggs and the nods that it does to the first one. So I'll say that. Second thing I want to mention, I personally think this sequel is better than the original. Now, that doesn't take anything away from the original. I just think from a technical standpoint, as well as a character, diving deeper into the characters and the mindsets and the layers they give them in this film, it's just a better film in that sense. And I still respect what the first one did. I will just say that. And then another thing I want to mention in regards to my theater experience. Now, just a quick story. As you all may or may not know, I have had the opportunity to see a lot of movies in the last couple years early because I'm a part of the press. And I'm not going to lie, a lot of times when you see a movie with the press, the energy is really not all there. It's kind of stiff, if I'm being honest with you all. It's not the most energetic environment. But this time around, I did see it with press, but also they had regular audience members there. And listen, when I tell you all, you would have thought there were people in that theater that this is a concert. This is like their, Star Wars. This is their Avengers Endgame. I mean, people were laughing, crying. I mean, crying multiple times. And I'm not going to lie, I teared up. I'm like, why am I getting so emotional? And when you see the film, I think everyone will get emotional with two particular parts in this film. But it was just a great environment to be of. And I mentioned, and I say all this to say, go see this in theaters, and if you have the opportunity, see it in IMAX, because it's just so much to take in. And the last thing I want to mention, I want to start bringing this back to the channel, because I used to be such a big fan of following box office numbers, and now that movies are starting to come out like they were, 2 years ago, and we really haven't talked box office in that long, I'm going to give you all my box office predictions for the opening weekend numbers and share yours in the comments as well. I feel as though from the good word of mouth, the buzz and nostalgia, Tom Cruise being a movie star, I can see this film landing between $65 to $70 million on its opening weekend. I hope that it does more because I think it deserves it, but I think it's going to be right in that range, 65 to 70 million opening weekend. That's my thoughts on the film, pros, cons, score, which one I thought better, my box office predictions, and I want to know yours in the comments from what you enjoyed, what you didn't, how did you feel about the emotional beats, the original characters, the story, the narrative, what didn't work for you all. Share your box office predictions. Which one did you prefer more? Let's have those discussions in the comments. Thank you all for watching this review. Hope you enjoyed it. Before you all leave, make sure you're liking the review, sharing it, commenting your thoughts in the comment section. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Hope you all are staying safe. As you can see on the screen now, come and join the community. Check out my other movie reviews. Check out my most recent review, and we'll catch you all on the next breakdown.